and this is our problem. So today we'll be solving this network um, using critical path method. Okay, so this is the node link, and this is the immediate predecessors, activities, and immediate successor and duration. So far we have constructed the network, but we have not added the days. So this is our network, and above this is an activity on arrow network. So which means that we'll be representing the activity above the arrow, and below that will be the duration of that particular activity. Say for example, in this case, activity A consumes 2 days. From our given table, the activities are in what do you call days. The duration of that activities are in days. So this will be 2 day for A, for B is 4 days, and so on. So Q is initial activity will be activity A, and final activity will be activity Q. So this is a network that we have constructed, and this time we have added the duration to it. Okay. Next step is this is the check. It is not the actual critical path method. So what exactly is this is critical path, or generally the path that consumes the largest duration. So which means that you remember the maze game in your childhood, you have played like starting point and ending point in a different combination of a thing. Say for example, this is the 1 is the start point, and 10 is the 10 is the end event. So how do you go from 1 to 10? There are different possible paths you can take. Say for example, you can directly go to 1, 2, 4, 7, 9, 10. Or you can go to 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 10. Or you can go 1, 2, 3, 6, 4, 7, 9, 10. You cannot go 1, 2, 3, 4, then 6, because the arrow is this way. So you cannot go the other way. The arrow is the point of direction. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 4, 7, 9, 10 is also possible, or 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 9, 10. So there are different possible paths. Okay. So probably this is the different possible paths. Like I've just made the node links and the activities that are what do you call embedded within that path. Say for example, if 1, 2, 4, 7, 9, 10, then the activity concern will be A, C, I, O, Q. And when you add all the duration of that path, say for example, 2 plus 3 is 5, and 5 plus 7 is 12, and 12 plus 9 is 21, and 21 plus 2 is 23. So this is a path that consumes 23 days. But is that the maximum in the network? No. So there could be a path that could be maximum in the network. Say for example, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 4, 7, 4 to 7, 7 to 9, 9 to 10 cost around 33 days. So that is the longest path in the network diagram, and that path is the critical path. So the one definition I can give you before is that the longest path is the critical path, and it is the lame definition, but the actual definition is critical path are the path that has got critical activity. What do you mean by critical activity? Is that the activity that doesn't have any buffer time, where an activity has got total flow to 0, the events have got no buffer time, then that events are called critical events, and the critical events are connected by critical activities, and the path that consists of critical activities are called critical path. So which means that if you are given a task to finish from start to end, and the longest path, will that be a critical path, or the if you put up the activities of that critical nature, and that will be a critical path. Not only that, that will not have any buffer time. So which means that if you happen to delay that critical activities, then your duration gets extended. The project duration is getting extended, and that is not we want. So that is why people call critical path to be very important. So if you, for example, if I delay 1 day in this any of this, it will turn out to be 34, which means the project duration itself is 33, and if you delay it by 1 day, you have to pay compensation to the client or the people who given you the project. So that is what this is actually the target kind of thing, like the end day or the target day or something like that. So that is what we call critical path. This is just to check. This is not the actual procedure to find out the critical path. This is to check whether finally, if you wanted to check whether your answer is correct, you can do it at this as a sanity check at the end. Okay. and we'll do the forward pass computation. All of you please pay attention. This is kind of a very important thing. This network, this is called event. Event gets bifurcated into three. So I'll just tell you what in a forward pass, we will be finding earliest event time. Then we will be finding the EST. When we find early start time plus the duration will give us early finish time. So as simple as that. And first one will be finding the event time. So event occurrence time or event time or whatever might be. And in a forward pass, we'll be doing it from the left to right. Okay. So this is the first event. So how early this can start is 0 because there is no activity preceding that. The event 1 starts on that day itself. So it doesn't have to wait. So that is why we marked with 0, and it doesn't, which means that it doesn't consumes any time. So it starts instantaneously at that point itself. Okay. Then event number 2. So how EI of event number 2 or EJ of event number 2, whatever might be. If we call this I, it call this J, this will be EJ and it will be EI. And in this case, it is 2. Event 2 cannot start instantaneously. It has to wait for this activity to complete. So which means that this activity A has got 2 duration. So which means that event 1 starts on the day instantaneously, and event 2 will wait for this activity to finish. That the activity has got 2 days, so which means that 0 plus 2 will give us 2. So that is why the EI value or the EJ value of the event 2 is calculated. The next is go to event number 3. Event number 3 has to wait for 4 days to finish, but actually it is waiting after activity A. So which means that EI in this case, if you take this 2 to be I and 3 to be J, then EI will be 2 and EJ will be 2 plus 4. That will be 6. So that is what you get 6 here. So why 6 here is 4, but even then it has to wait until the event 2 gets over. How does the 2, when does the 2 gets over is 2. Why it is 2? Because of the activity 2. So since it has got no what you call prerequisite, so it starts 0, 0 plus 2 is 2, and 2 plus 4 is 6. And similarly, next is 4. If you think 6 plus 2 is 8, then that's not the correct. So why it is not correct is that, so the event has to be, for example, event has to be started only after the 2 gets over, the 3 gets over. Notwithstanding that, it also has to wait till the 6 gets over because there's an arrow projecting to it, and 5 gets over because if you see number of arrows, so 1, 2, 3, 4, unless all other events are over, this event 4 cannot be started. If you think about I is the leaving one, so it is not projecting to it. So I is the leaving one, and C, E, H, and F all should be completed. Then only the event 4 should start. Say for example, here it is 6 plus 2. No, it is not 8. Or 2 plus 3, it is not 5. We need to find this and this. So we'll go to 5. How do we get 5 is 2 plus 5 is 7. So even 5 gets started 7. Then we have got 1, 1, 2, 3, but this H is remaining. How do we find H's? First we'll see the G. So 6 plus 3 is 9. Okay, 9 plus 6 is 15. So out of these, if you talk about 2 plus 3 is 5, and 6 plus 2 is 8, and 7 plus 4 is 11, and 9 plus 6 is 15. So which is maximum? In a forward pass, we look into the maximum. So which means that even 4 cannot start even 2 plus 3 days is over, or 6 plus 2, 8 days is over, or 7 plus 4, 11 is over. It has to wait till 9 plus 6, that is 15 days. Unless event 6 is over, event 4 cannot be started. So this is, you remember the precedence relationship we talked about. It's called finish to start. So unless the other active events it's not at finish, this event 4 cannot be started. Okay, so the value EI value for event 4 is 9 plus 6, which is 15. So that is why we got 15. Okay, now can you tell me what will be the value for the J, EI of J? EI of J, has got 9 plus 1 is 10. Then 15 plus 7 is 22. Then 7 plus 4 is 11. So what value will get for J? Sorry, 7.
22.
Yeah, 22. Correct. Exactly. Why is 50? It has to wait till 15 plus 7 gets over. So this is 22. Okay. Next is 8. So 8 has got only 1. So this is very simple. 7 plus 3 is 10. Okay. Next one will be 9. 9 depends on 9 plus 6 is 15. Then 22 plus 9 is 31. And 10 plus 8 is 18. So it has to wait till 22 plus 9. So that will become 31. Okay. Then final is very simple. 31 plus 2 is 33. Okay. So if you remember the last one, the last event, the one EI value or EJ value, whatever you call that, the event time. Earliest the last event can start as a critical path. If you remember what is a critical path, we have calculated. It should be 33. So which means that you should you should end up having the critical path duration. So if you have done if you get some other value like 31 or 30, then your computation is wrong. So you might have missed out the maximum thing. So that is one sanity check that you can do it in a network. So in an examination, out of hurry you get a different value, but when you check the critical path is different, then the some calculations might have gone wrong. Okay. Then we have done the event times. Next is the activity times, the EST and EFT. So once you find EST, you can add duration to find EFT. In a forward pass, we'll be looking at the earliest start time. So early start time. So before we get into the early start time, let's brush up what is early start time. Early start time is the maximum of EI value or the previous EFT value. So in this case, I'll tell you EST depends on EI value. In this case, it's J, EJ or EFT of previous activity. So whichever is maximum, that will be our EST value. So EST plus the duration will give us EFT, early finish time. So that is what we're going to do in the forward pass computation. It's very simple. It's quite powerful technique when compared to other methodologies. Uh, Okay, so in a forward pass, we have done the event times, and next one will be activity times. In activity times, we will be only finding early start time, EST. Early start time plus the duration will give us early finish time. So as simple as that. So in this case, the first activity, EST of this activity will be 0. The reason is that maximum of EI or EFT of previous thing. So there is no previous thing. So EFT is 0 and EI of this is 0. So which means that EST of that will be 0. Okay. Then 0 plus 2 will give us 2. So early finish time of activity A is early start time of activity A plus the duration, which means that 0 plus 2 is 2. So that is why you get this 2. Okay. Next we'll go to B, activity B. What is the EST of activity B? EST is the maximum of EI or EFT of previous activity. In this case, both are same, 2 and 2. So we'll get only 2. Okay. What is EFT? Early start time plus the duration will give us early finish time. So which means that 2 plus 4 is 6. Okay. Next we'll go to C. C also have got the same procedure, which means that both are same. So it will be having 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. And we'll go to activity D, which is nothing but it also got the same thing, 2 and 2. So this is 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. Then E will be 6 or 6, which is 6. Here 6 plus 2 is 8. Okay. F is 7 and 7. So it will be 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. Okay. Then then G is 6 and 6. This will be 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. This is 9 and 9. So the maximum will be 9. 9 plus 6 is 15. Okay. Then I has got 50. If you look at I has got different things. 11, 5, 8, 15 and 15. So out of this, the maximum will be 15. So we'll just give 15. 15 plus 7 is 22. Okay. Then J has got 7 and 7. So it'll be 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. Then K has got 7 and 7, so it will be 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. K L L is here, 9 and 9, it will be 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. Then M is 10 and 10 here. 10 plus 4 is 14. Then N is 9 and 9 here. 9 plus 6 is 15. O, if you think about O, if you pay attention to O depends on the EFT of the previous activities. In this case, L, I, J, M, all are projecting towards this activity. So the EI value is 22, EFT of L is 10, EFT of I is 22, EFT of J is 11, and EFT of M is 14. So out of this, the maximum value is 22. So which means that this 22 or this 22 either way is the same. So it's 22. So 22 plus 9 is 31. Okay. P also has got only one thing. So 10 or 10. So it will be 10. 10 plus 8 is 18. Then if you talk about Q, it has got 15, it has got 31, it has got 31, it has got 18. So out of this, the maximum will be 31. So 31 plus 2 is 33. So which means that we have completed the forward pass with the event times as well as the activity times. So this is the one step of, the 50% of our computation. We have only done the forward pass computation. Forward pass computation will be the simplest one. And it's kind of pretty easy because it's natural for us to compute from left to right. But backward pass is where generally people will make a mistake. The reason is that we'll be calculating not only backward. In a forward pass, we'll take up the maximum value and put it in the bracket. But in the backward pass, we'll be finding out the minimum value. So that is very important. And another important is, in a forward pass, we'll be looking at the node that is the arrow that is projecting outside the node. Where in which in the backward pass, for example, in this case, for example, if you want to find the EST or EI, we'll be looking at the arrow that is projecting towards that. In a backward pass, we always look into the arrow that is leaving from that. For example, if you want to find this thing, LI of this thing, then we'll be looking at this arrows that are leaving. So that is where it is a little confusing, but I'll tell you how to do it without any mistake. Okay, so this completes the forward pass. In a backward pass, in an even time, we'll be finding out the latest occurrence time, latest event occurrence time, something like that. Latest event occurrence time, LI or LJ. We'll be generally finding it from the backward, something like the final event. So whatever you get it for EI of the last event, you'll substitute as a LI because it's a last event. It doesn't delay much further. So that is our objective. So it should not be beyond the 33. So which means that the project should finish because CPM is a deterministic thing. So it should finish on, we will assume that it is finishing on that day of it is starting, the event starting. Okay. So 33, and note down that this is the critical path. Okay. Now to find 9, Li of 9, it is 33 Lj minus the duration, which means that in a forward pass, 0 plus 2 will give us 2. Whereas in a backward pass, 33 plus minus 2 will give us 31. So which means that 33 minus 2 has become 31. Next is 8. But to 8, we have got 2 arrows leaving. If we talk about 8, even the 2 arrows are leaving. Unless we know what is this, then only we can find out this value. Say for example, 31 minus 8 or some value here minus 4, whichever is minimum, that will be governed here. In a forward pass, we look into the maximum. You remember node 4, we have talked about the maximum. In a backward pass, we'll be looking at the minimum value. So for example, say first we'll compute this. 31 minus 9 is 22. Okay. So 31 minus 8 or 22 minus 4, whichever will be minimum. So the minimum will be 22 minus 4. That is what? 18. The reason we didn't get 31 minus 8 is that this is minimum when compared to this one. So that is why it is 18. So in a backward pass, the key point you should understand is you should look into the arrows that are leaving, not projecting, the arrows that are leaving. So that is very important. Then we have solved 7, 8, 9. We'll go to 6. And in 6, the number of arrows leaving is 2. N and L. So 22 minus 1 or 31 minus 6, whichever is minimum. 22 minus, or one more important thing, we have missed out this. If you see 6, this h is also an arrow that is leaving. So we need to calculate this, then only we can decide on this. So which means that this has got only one arrows that leaving. So which means this arrow. So which means it's easy. 22 minus 7 is 15. Then 6 has got three arrows leaving, N, L, and H. So which means that 31 minus 6, or 22 minus 1, or 15 minus 6. If you didn't consider H, then probably you'll be substituting 22 minus 1 is 21. So that's wrong. So which means that 15 minus 6 is 9. Okay. Then we can go to 5. 5 has got two arrows projecting. 22 minus 4 or 18 minus 3. I think 18 minus, I'm sorry, it has got this arrow also projecting, F, J, and K. So 15 minus 4 is 11. So whichever is minimum, that will be the governing value of this thing. And finally, we can go to 3. 3 has got two arrows leaving. So 15 minus 2 or 9 minus 3. So 9 minus 3 is minimum. That will be 6. And this even 2 has got three arrows projecting, leaving out. So one is 6 minus 4, which is 2, or 15 minus 3, which is 12. Then 11 minus 5, which is 6. Out of this, the minimum is 6 minus 4 is 2. Then the final stuff, which is nothing but 2 minus 2 is 0. So which means that if you take a close look at this, so the initial event has got, it should be 0, 0, because it should be starting at instantaneously. There shouldn't be any delay in the event times. The event time should start instantaneously. So 0 and 0, how early the event 1 can start is 0, how late the event 1 can start is 0 also. In the final event, how early the event can start is the critical path, and how late the event can start is also the critical path. So this is very important. So this signifies the characteristics of a what do you call the start node, or start event, or end node, or a end event. And also if you take a close look at it, so 33, 31, 30, 31, and 9, 9, 6, 6, 15, 15, 22, 22, 2, 2, 0, 0. Which means that when EI and LI, the earliest event and the latest event of an event is the same, then those events are called critical events. So which means that there is no free time to relax. So you start on the day and you should finish on that particular day. So that is basically the what you call the critical events. But if you talk about this event number 5, which is 7, you can start early the 7, but it can lately you can start at 11 also. So it has got a buffer time, and similarly the event has got the buffer time. Okay. Now the problem is we know that are critical events, but we have no idea like how to connect this critical events. Say for example 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 6, and 6 to 9, and 9 to 10 can also be critical path. But interconnecting the critical events is called critical path, but we have no clue because we have even 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 4 to 7, 7 to 9, and 9 to 10 can also be critical path. So in order to exactly find out, we will be finding out the what do you call LFT and LST. Since we have find out EST and EFT in the forward pass, and LFT, if you find LFT latest finish time, then LFT minus the duration will give us LST, latest start time. So by this procedure, we can find out the all the activity times. So at the end of this backward pass computation and activity time, we'll have a comprehensive network with all the solutions. So once you solve the network, then the entire problem is over. Then it's all the minor computations to find out what are these implications. Okay. Next will be activity times. We'll be only finding out latest finish time. Latest finish time minus the duration will give us a latest start time. As I told you, what is we'll just go back quickly to the LST. So LST is the minimum, yeah, forward pass. This is a backward pass. If you wanted to find LFT, it is a LJ, the latest event, or LST, whichever is minimum. You note that this is minimum. Whichever is minimum, that will be the LFT of this thing. If you have a comprehensive network like this, LFT is depending on LST of JK and LST of JL and LJ. So whichever is minimum of that, that will be the LFT of IJ. Okay. I quickly run through the stuff. Anyway, this video is getting recorded, so it will be automatically updated in Microsoft Team at the end of this meeting. So probably you can take a look at this in much detail. Okay. And in a backward pass, we have only got the LJ value, so we don't have got the any other succeeding activity. So that will become minimum of that will become 33. Okay, so 33 will be here. Okay, so then 33 minus 2 will become 31. So this is how you calculate the LST, latest start time. So we only get LFT in the backward pass. LFT minus the duration will give us LST. Okay. Next will become this activity or this activity. For this activity, the LJ is 31 and also the LST of the succeeding activity is also 31. So we'll just simply or O or P, whatever might be. So 31, 31 minus 8 is 23. Then we can go for O, 31 minus 9 is 22. Then N is also 31. The reason is that LST and LJ of this particular thing is same. So minimum of that is 31. 31 minus 6 is 25. Then we'll go back to this 22 or 22. It will be 22. 22 minus 4 is 18. Then we'll go to L. L is 20, minimum of that. So which means that it is 22, 22. Then probably 25, 25. 22, so will be the minimum. So 22 minus 1 is 21. And here is 18, 18 or 23 or 18. So 18 is the minimum. 18 minus 3 is 15. And this is calculated. And finally, you have got a comprehensive. Okay, so this is the final solution. In the forward pass, we'll look into all the event EI and the top of the arrow, which is EST and EFT. In a backward pass, we'll be looking at LFT minus the duration will give us LST and so something like that. Okay, but this gives us a clue of a critical path. What that is, if the EST and LST are the same, or EFT and LFT are the same, then that will not have any buffer time. So remember that in the previous thing, even the event times 1, 2, 4, 7, 9, 10 is also critical, but we cannot take the same path because the EST and LST is not the same in case of C. In case of I, it's same, but it's not the other cases. Okay, so which means that a critical path is predominantly 0022. This is A, 2266 is B, 6699 is G, and it's not the same here because it's different. So 9, it's also not same in L, but it is same here. Actually, this is in a backward pass, it's 15, 15, 9, 9. So it's just a reverse. I've made it a reverse. This is also a critical activity. Then 15, 15, 22, 22, 22, 22, 31, 31, and 31, 31, 33, 33. So which means that a critical path is A, B, G, H, I, O, Q. So that confirms our sanity check also. So if you take a look at the sanity check, A, B, G, H, I, O, Q. So when you add the activities, you'll get A, B, G, H, I, O, Q. So that will be 33. So which means that we have found out the critical path using the critical path method. Okay. So once you find out the EAST, LST and all, it's pretty easy. So you put down in a tabular column the earliest event, this is event time, EI, EJ. So EI is 1 here and EJ is 2, the node 2, and LI is the latest of 1, the LJ is latest of 2. So from this is EI and this EJ, this is LI and LJ. So put it in the tabular column. Then you find EST and LST. So early start time 0, early finish time is 2, early latest start time is 0, and latest finish time is 2. So this is how you put it in the tabular column. The next is float time. Float time is pretty much easy. You remember the formula for the floats, total float, free float. I'll just go back to. So once you know early start time minus early finish time, latest start time, I mean early start time minus latest start time, it's called start float or total float start. Then early finish time minus the latest finish time, or the late, I mean this is called finish float or the total float finish. So that is what you get it in here. Okay. One significant thing I told you in the critical path is it is not the path that doesn't that has got the longest duration, but it's a path that doesn't have any buffer time. If you take a look at it, EST, LST, so you start on the particular day. How early you can start on the particular day, particular activity is also the same. How late you can start the particular activity is the same. That is what the significance of the 6, 6, then 15, 15, then 15, 15, 20 to 22. So which means that there is no buffer time. So which means that total float is 0. So whichever activity has got total float to be 0, those activities are called critical activities. And the path that connects the critical activities are called critical path. Okay. So this is a very, very important thing. Whereas free float, independent float and interfering float are not project management parlance. This has got much application in computer processing and all. But our importance is calculating the total float. Okay. In exam float, it is if it is mentioned like determine float, then it is the total float. Unless otherwise mentioned as find out free float and independent float and interpairing float, all floats corresponds to the total float. Okay. And another important thing to be noted down is sometimes when you get an independent and interfering float to be negative. So float cannot be negative. So in case you encounter sometime when you calculate, you get a negative float, then which means that you have to convert that to be 0. So you don't have to give a negative float. Instead, you make that to be 0. So that is the ideal case. Okay. So this is an independent float and interfering float. Okay. So this is our initial network. And if you talk about the critical events, 1, 2, 3, 6, 4, 7, 9, 10, and the path that what you call connects the critical events or critical paths, which has got a 0 buffer, and that is marked as red color. And if in exam you can do a double line, or you can even highlight it with some color. So that is how we can represent it by critical path. If it is a black and white book, probably they would have thickened this weight of the lines of the critical activities or the arrows of critical activities to represent that to be a critical activity. Okay. And one important thing, not many people pay attention to it is a subcritical path. Okay. So what do you mean by critical path is the path having the maximum duration. Say in this case, we have got the critical activity to be 33. But what happens if an activity that has got, in this case, if this is 33, the next one will be something around 29. So not, it's a very big difference, 4 days of difference. Supposing an activity, a path that has got 32 duration. So 32 duration is almost a critical path by shorten, not being critical path because of the 1 day shortage. But in actual practice, if you delay 1 day of that particular activity in that path, then that will consume to be a critical path. So which means that it is not only the critical path is very important. So the near critical path is also having the much importance when you compare to the other stuff. So those are called subcritical path. Okay. So I'll just go back to that. That is called subcritical path. So those are called near critical. Say for example, they are classified into 3. So most critical, which is nearby, and medium critical, it is almost like 5 or 6 days or 7 days. So the mediocre level. And the least critical is that can never become a critical path. That path can never become a critical path because of the huge buffer times of the activities. Okay. Let's take a look at how do we find out that. Okay. So there's a formula called lambda is equals to alpha 2 minus beta divided by alpha 2 minus alpha 1. So alpha 1 is the minimum total float in the network, and minimum total float will be 0 generally. Then alpha 1 is the maximum total float in the network. So which means that the activity that has got the maximum buffer time, and beta is the total float for the path whose criticality is to be calculated, which means that the beta will vary for different paths. So based on which we can rank even. So this is in terms of percentage. We can, if, for example, if you want to convert it into 10-point scale, this is the formula: 1 plus 0.09 into lambda dash. So I'll tell you what exactly that means. So for example, we will be first listing down all the paths, including the critical paths, and we'll find the path duration. This is the total number of days of duration of that particular path. Then the total float. How do we get this? Is we use this table to find out the add up all the total floats in the, for example, critical activity. A is 0, B is 0, then G is 0, H is 0, I is 0, then O is 0, then Q is 0. So for critical activity, the total float will become 0. We'll take a look at this. That is why it is called critical path. So which means that it doesn't have any buffer time. But if you take a look at this path has got 10 buffer days, then this path has got 16 buffer days. The maximum buffer is here. This path 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, 10 has got 20 duration, but it has got a buffer of 25 days. So this is the alpha 2, which is the maximum buffer. I think it's alpha 2, a maximum buffer in the network. Minimum is the 0. This will become alpha 1. And beta is what we will be calculating. This will be by beta for individual paths. Say for example, we will be what do you call we will do arrangement in terms of ascending order of the total slack. Initially for critical path is 0, the next is 7, 8, 10, 12, 15, 16, 20, and 25. This is the maximum value, the alpha 2. And alpha 1 is 0 because this is 0. And the formula is alpha 2 minus alpha 1 divided by alpha 2 minus beta divided by alpha 2 minus alpha 1. So beta is this particular total float. In this case, it is alpha 2 is 25 minus beta is 0 divided by alpha 2 is 25 minus 0, which means 25 by 25 is 1. In terms of percentage is 100. But if you wanted to put it in the 10-point scale, it is 10. That is lambda dash is equal to 1 plus 0.009 into lambda. This value is lambda in terms of 100%. Then that will give in terms of 10-point scale. This is not percentage actually. This is 10-point scale. Then we will be ranking based on that. So critical path will be generally ranked 1. And the near critical path will be based on that. For example, in this case, the alpha 2 is 25 minus the beta is 7. 25 minus 7 divided by 25 minus what do you call alpha 1 0. So that will become 72. So 7.5 in a 10-point scale, that will be rank 2. And similarly, if you talk about the last one, never critical, this is, you can see this is the most critical path, kind of, this is a mediocre critical path, and this is the least critical path. So this can never become critical path, you see, because 25 minus 25 is 0 divided by 25 minus 0 is 0 divided by 25 is 0. So which means that in terms of percentage, this will never become a critical path. So the 10-point scale, this ranks 1, and out of this is the 9. So which means that it's the last serial number. If you can see, last total number of paths is 9, and this will be the ranked 9 out of the total path. So this is how you calculate the subcritical path. So this completes the critical path analysis. Then the next one. So example 2, I've not solved this. I'll just request you to solve this. And before that, let me ask you a question. Can we have a multiple critical paths in a network? Is that possible to have a multiple critical paths in a network?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the answer is yes. So we can have a multiple critical path. So the example 2 is of that nature. So in this case, we have got 4 activities, 4 paths that has got the same duration, 22, 22, 22, 22. And also if you calculate the, what do you call the subcritical path, if you see 21 and 20 are there, 21, 20, 19. So all these things kind of more closer to the critical path. So that can also become a critical path when you delay it 1 or 2 days. So this is kind of pretty much a good example of having a multiple critical paths. As also have got nearest subcritical paths. Okay. So this is example 2. So you can do that whenever you're free. So free to calculate the EI, EST, and something. Why I have not solved this is like that will give you a practice of solving the critical path method. Okay, and this is the multiple critical paths, so something like that. And this is what I just did some years ago. So even I got a good appreciation for this. In one of the presentation, I give it to other colleges in VIT. I got even a standing ovation for this. One MTech guy, it's kind of a very important thing. So it's kind of, can we have all the paths to be critical? The answer is also fairly same, because I just made somewhere like made it all the paths to be critical. So it's illogical and it's impractical, or you don't have any buffer time at any point of time. So it's kind of an critical path. So this is where you can even try solving this, and you don't need to solve total float for this, because all that will become zero, because it doesn't have any time to relax or something like that. So you just give it a try. So and just probably can do it. Okay, so this completes the critical path method. Okay, so are there any questions so that I can answer in critical path method?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Next, we'll go to PERT. PERT is also kind of the computation procedures are fairly the same, but with the additional advantage. So one of the advantage of the PERT is that PERT in a CPM, it is deterministic time. So which means that for activity n, it is 8 O is 2. So it is the same. Don't matter. We don't talk about the skill of the people. Sometimes, say for example, the duration of the exam for all the people is the same. Say for example, 3 hours. But some writes very fast. Some writes even takes longer time than the 3 hours, and they do it in a hurry in the end of the exam. Or some they finish exactly the 3 hours and finish the exam. So it doesn't talks about the skill of the people. So this deterministic time, for example, the activity B is 4 means is 4. It's determined. So it cannot change. It is deterministic. So, but PERT consists of uh, 3 times. It's called multiple estimate, multiple time estimate, or 3-time estimate. And it looks into the optimistic time, most likely time, and pessimistic time. Okay. So you remember the example that we have given in critical path method. So I'll just run through it, just go very fast to it. So I'll come back to the PERT. Here it is. This example. So all the 3 buses of the suburban bus. So if you go to Vandalur Zoo from VIT, it all takes 20 minutes. So which means that the task has got the deterministic duration. But sometimes in a real time, we might get a bus that is capable of going faster, so traveling faster. So this is an example of a PERT. This is a suburban bus. If probably you can see, this is kind of, they call it a deluxe bus or executive bus, and this probably would have seen in what do you call, the central Chennai or the main line Chennai, where you just kind of an AC bus. Have you traveled in this AC bus in Chennai?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the fare is pretty high when compared to all, but it generally goes really fast. It doesn't stop in all the stops. It only does in a selected stops. Okay, so if you board this bus, you can board only one bus. If you're standing in a bus stop, you could board only one bus at a time. So which means that if you happen to get this bus, then you will get it in 20 minutes. If you get this bus, you can probably get to that location in 17 minutes. And probably if you get this, you can probably get it in a 15 minutes. So this is kind of an PERT problem. So it means this is more optimistic. You stand in a bus and you're waiting for the AC bus, that is more optimistic. Most likely this is the common bus you will get frequently. So this is kind of a most likely time. But pessimistic is no other bus turns up, only this bus turns up. This is kind of a more pessimistic. So pessimistic time takes a little higher, and most likely it's an average time kind of time, which is almost equal to a deterministic time in a CPM. And this is the more optimistic time. So we'll just, it's just like a gamble, or it is just like we'll get this bus. So this is more optimistic time. Okay. So PERT is also developed during 1958, and the CPM were developed in 1957. PERT is of the same year, or kind of a 1 year later. And it is also called multiple time estimate, and it looks very important. It is probabilistic time. In a CPM, somebody asks you what's the difference between a CPM and PERT. It is CPM is deterministic time, and what do you call it? It will give us the earliest completion. But PERT is a probabilistic time. It will give the probability of completion. That is one advantage of PERT. It will give us the probability of completion. And another important thing is just 3-time estimate. So it'll look into the more what do you call pessimistic, most likely, and what do you call more optimistic time. So optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic time. So it has some what do you call formula to calculate it. So average time. So we have 3 times. It is also called triple constraint or 3-time estimate, when which the optimistic time plus 4 times the most likely time plus pessimistic time divided by 6. This is the formula to find the average mean time. So since we're gonna do 3 times, so we'll be finding the equivalent time or the mean time. And variance is the square of the standard deviation. Variance is first we'll find standard deviation, which is pessimistic time minus the optimistic time divided by 6, and square of this will be the variance. Okay, or in other terms, what it call square root of the standard deviation. I mean, square root of the variance is the standard deviation. So you remember this. I think if you remember variance in terms of square, it will be a little difficult. So you remember that's a standard deviation without the square, but variance is squared of the standard deviation. Okay. And TO is optimistic time, TM is most likely time, and TP is a pessimistic time. And this is very important. So it will look into the normal distribution table, and it will predict the probability of completion. So this we will come back to little later, but as of now, understand this thing. This is very important. Okay. Let's and this is the is the table or normal distribution table. And if you get a value of minus 3.0, then the probability of completion is 0. But if you get plus 3, the probability of completion is 100%. Anything below that or positive and negative value is the percentage of completion of the project. And this is standard normal distribution table. And this is the problem. Actually, this is the same problem probably we have encountered as a CPM. So most likely time is all over a CPM, the 73 days. Just go back to CPM. Yeah. So if you see the 73 days in CPM, it's all the same, 2, 4, 3, 5. It's kind of a most likely time which we have devised for PERT problems. And optimistic times are lesser than the most likely time, and most likely time are lesser than the pessimistic time, and pessimistic time are the highest in the particular three among the 3 times. Okay, so this is where you get this optimistic time are lesser and pessimistic time are lesser. So one important thing to be noted on this, since the first example, I've not varied the what do you call intervals. So for example, if it is 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, and 2, 3, 4, and so on, 6, 7, 8. So which means that when you find T average duration, say for example, 1, 4 times 2 plus 3 divided by 6 is 2. So which will give us the most likely value. So I'm just make this example to be a convergence of the critical path method. So which means that I've not varied the intervals between the optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic. So which means that the T effective will always become this thing. So this is the PERT representation, and when you calculate the mean, it is almost the same. So it is the 73 days. It's almost, if you see, so almost the most likely is getting repeated. But in real practice, the intervals may not be the same. Say for example, this for activity A, the optimistic can be 1, the most likely can be 2, but pessimistic can be 4 or 5 or 6. Or the optimistic can be 1, the most likely can be 3, the pessimistic can be 4. So the intervals cannot be equal. So in that case, the mean value will change. Since for the example 1, so I made it the mean value to be as equivalented, so that you don't have to calculate. We have already calculated the EST, LST, and critical path, and so on. So which means that if the mean value is different, then you have to find out the entire critical path. You have to find EI, event times, activity times, and to find also the critical paths, and so total float to find the critical path and so on. Okay. Next, we found that the variance is the square of the standard deviation. So for all these things, we have got this 0.111 and so on. And we found the this is what we have done in the CPM. So we have made the same thing, and we found out the critical path. And now we'll segregate the critical path. So we will be segregating only the critical path A, B, G, H, I, O, Q, and the mean duration is also called as TE, expected duration. This is the mean duration of that particular critical path, and we have taken the variance of it, like the mean duration. When you add all these things, it will become the critical path for the critical path duration. Then we have taken the all the what do you call the variance, and we have sum up it of some all the variance of the critical path. Then square of that will become the square root of that will become the standard deviation. Standard deviation is the square root of the variance, so which means that we'll get something around 0.8819. This is very important. This is very important, and we know this critical path duration is 33, and 0.08819 is the standard deviation. So now our problem is we know that the critical path is 33, and supposing somebody asks you what is the probability of completion of that project in 35 days. So which means that the formula is that the P of 35. This is the given question, which means they ask you when it will start, when it will, what is the percentage of completion of that at particular day. So that particular day minus the critical path duration divided by the standard deviation. How do we get the standard deviation? This is the standard deviation of the critical path. Standard deviation of the critical path. So which means that 35 minus 33 is 2. 2 divided by 0.008 is plus 2.27. It's very important. It is plus 2.27. Then we'll go back to this table. 2.2 will be this is plus 2.2. Then 0.07. When you come back to here, you'll get something around 0.9884. In a Z table or a normal distribution table, we got the value of 0.9884. If you multiply by 100, you will get in terms of percentage. It is 98.84% or approximately 95%. So we know that critical path is 33, and somebody asks you what is the percentage of completion of that in 35. It is 99%. But 99% it gets completed. Okay. The next is the what is the probability of completion that particular network in particular PERT problem in 30 days. So 30 minus 33 divided by 0.00819. So which means that 30 minus 33 is minus 3. Minus 3 divided by 0.8819. So which means that the critical path itself is 33 days. But people ask you how can you do that in 30 days, or what is the probability of completion of that in 30 days? Then P of minus 2.27. Remember, like this is minus 2.27. So which means that we have to find I think we have got minus 2 point, I think it's minus 2.2. We have to go to table minus 2.2. So when is 2.2 and 7, here it is just 0.0116. So this is how if you multiply by 100, it is just like how many percentage is 1%, no? Multiply by 100. So the probability of completion is very, very less. Okay. So this is how you make up the analogy in terms of the PERT problems. And example 2, I've just made this example 2 for you to practice. So which means that optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic, if you see the durations, the intervals are not the same. So which means that the mean duration varies. Once you find the mean duration, you have to do the CPM. Then you can proceed the problem. Okay. And also let's just go back. Yeah, you have to find the CPM, then you have to do the pessimistic thing. Second. Yeah, so this is the example 2, which has got the differential values. Okay, this problem I'll give you as a practice. So next time when you come, just practice the CPM and PERT from this particular PPT. Okay, so this is the initial stage. Okay, so are there any questions that I can answer?
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll go back